All right. First of all, thanks to everyone who joined. I know it's a weekday and I know it's a very limited audience, but I'm sure all the 10, 12, 13 of us who are here are keen to know what actually motivates us to know what AI is. Before that, what is IVIT? IVIT is an organization formed to empower women in IT and ITES. It's no longer a women oriented organization, but for any professional who wants to enrich the knowledge, bring in a cultural change, bring in innovation, entrepreneurship, and also networking and leadership. Today, we have amongst us our new event member and also a very good friend of mine, Swetha. And Swetha comes from being an associate director of SAP Delivery and Architecture Leadership at Kyndryl. And I had the great privilege of actually being associated with her in the in those days when Kyndryl GTS was called as IBM. So, a very highly motivated, result oriented IT executive working with diverse work streams, consulting to delivery of managed SAP services, spearheading the delivery stream of SAP Center of Excellence. And she had also proven her ability to translate whatever given business strategies, objectives, and future state capabilities to roadmaps, blueprints, and executable programs. In parallel, she's also a client focused enterprise architect, highly regarded for driving the design, development, and seamless execution of clients' digital transformation initiatives to strengthen their competitive position and solve the pressing business problems. A very awesome human being, very empathical family member, both in her personal life and professional life. She ensures that everybody around her are cheerful, happy, and successful. She motivates and gives her hand to uplift everyone around her. And not only that, she's also a very strong technical practitioner who is beyond certification. Certifications is just a badge that denotes her technical brilliance, but the biggest certification or biggest badge she holds is as a wonderful human being. And she's actually completed AI for business from Wharton School of Pennsylvania. So to have amidst us a wonderful human being, a wonderful techie, a woman leader, it's today the privilege of Yvette to have her speaking to all of us on generative AI and how it is actually transforming our lives and helping us move ahead. Over to you, Swetha. The platform is yours.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you very much, Shuma. I'm humbled by the introduction what you gave. I should say likewise to you. You are a wonderful human being as well. And that is why birds of the same feather flock together. That is why we flock together. So having said that, thank you for this opportunity to connect with the greater, community. And this is going to be one of my most special give backs to the external community as well. So having said that, let me quickly share my screen without further ado. Let me know as soon as you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. All right. So let me quickly, go into the subject directly. And to say a few words about EWIT, that is EWIT. This is one of the wonderful communities for rise and shine of women. And however, the sessions or the workshops or the participation is gender agnostic. So that's how it's been giving back to the community. So having said that, she has already given an introduction. I'm not here to talk about myself. It's about the connection. So if you would like to connect with me, you can connect me on this LinkedIn. Anyways, this would be, this deck will also be shared with the people who are participants who are attending this session. My AA credentials, right? So as she said, I've graduated AA Strategy for Business from Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. I've done my AA Ethics from SAP and Microsoft Azure AA certified and an AA practitioner for application workloads. So that is something which I have to tell you so that it qualifies me to give you or share my thoughts and the expertise that I have on AI. So a quick look at the agenda. We will discuss about few terminologies. So what is this let me set the context first. Right? This is about responsible AI. I'm not here to tell you stories about Terminators 1, 2, 3 to today, Gen AI. But what I'm going to tell you is how a responsible AI should be, right? So every movie, sci-fi movies we have seen so far ended up in a big jeopardy when AI was used. That is kind of a thought process that comes into play, right? So what is very important for us to see, how could we prevent it and still leverage the best potential from a technology advancement, right? So that's what it is all about, the technology, which is running at velocity of light. So some of the terminologies I'll touch upon, and followed by some of the AI capabilities. We'll think about what AI capabilities we are doing it, we are using in everyday life. We will have some relevance to it. The ethical dimensions, which is the crux of today's session, and what initiatives are taken by different organizations in terms of trustworthy AI. All right. So with this introduction, let me also tell you in the agenda that it is not going to be a monologue. We have to have a lot of interactions here. So there will be, after every topic, right, subtopics, we will have some time to reflect upon what did we, discuss. And then on top of it, you have the reactions here in the chat window. So please put in your thoughts, put in your answers, your reactions. You can raise your hand and say that, hey, I have something to say, or you can just put it in the chat so that we can take it up. Okay. So having said that, let's go. All right. So some of the terminologies I would like to touch upon, right? So whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, many used to get confused with machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, and now the Gen AI, which is already kind of the super cool stuff. So what is important to know is what is a subset of what and what is the difference between all these terminologies. So people who might have already worked on it know it very well, but let me touch upon the basics here. So when we say data science, think of a scenario where scientifically you study a data, analyze it, the statistical relationships between the features of the data in order to address a business or a social problem. Okay. Let me give you an example from the environment. It's a classic Microsoft example, I would say. Consider an endangered species area, a forest or a wildlife area, and then there is also a economic development coming near that. There is a human ecosystem going to co-live or coexist along with a wildlife sanctuary or something. And the endangered species are very important, right, for the world. So environment counts, right? It's a social cause also. So how are we going to make use of data? So data science, using data science, there will be sample sets that would be taken, extrapolated to find what is a business problem here. How can an industrial development not impact the wildlife or the endangered species? However, we also should ensure the wildlife is maintained or preserved, right? So in such cases, data science would help us in getting into or structuring optimal policies based on the analytics, based on the statistical extrapolation, based on the machine learning models. All the unknown labels will be found, and then finally a country or a state could be able to define the optimal policies to ensure that the human ecosystem that is in favor of economic development and also endangered species coexist, right? So these are some of the practical examples you can think of where a data science plays a major role. Of course, commercial basis, many of the companies are getting into analytics and data science because it drives revenue and innovation. Having said that, let me come to the next step, which is a machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of data science where you train models, right? Train and validate data models. And those machine learning models are something where you use the features from the data to find an unknown label. For example, take the case of the same scenario where the endangered species are there is a human development and all that. What are the things you need to know? There are some things which you can already observe. Say, for example, number of nesting sites. What is the human population coming up near the area? What are the number of endangered species over there? So all these play a vital role in order to find out that what is the maximum, or what is the area that has to be boundary, right? That has to put a boundary so that there is no impact of an industrial development here. So that is an unknown label that we will find out using machine learning models. Then comes the superstar of today's discussion, which is artificial intelligence. As the name suggests, right, it should emulate one or more characteristics of a human intelligence. So what do, right? You have the sensory organs, you can see, you can speak, right? You can hear, you have a vision, right? So you can walk, talk, and all that. So as a human, how you can put forth your capabilities, artificial intelligence should emulate one or more characteristics. So when we say artificial intelligence, in the same situation, what could be done is that to monitor, manually monitoring the species in the wildlife would be very, very strenuous, right? And to understand if there is poaching, no poaching, or if there is going to be an impact or not, this is very difficult. So what is usually done is that you have the motion detection sensors, right? But motion detection sensors will not detect whether it's a human or a animal, right? It can only detect that there is a motion, there is something passing by. So what system does the analysis or a classification, whether it is an animal or a human, that is artificial intelligence, where we use computer vision to see that whether it is an animal crossing or a human is crossing the perimeter, what's happening inside the jungle or the forest. So this is one of the practical example where artificial intelligence, where it uses the computer vision, one of the capabilities to for this use case, right? So just think in practical terms and understand that how are we making use of all these in our daily life. Okay. Let me go to the next one where we will have some interaction as well. So some of the frequently used AI capabilities you can think of, right? Like human, right? What do? We read a book, we analyze what is in it. We look into Twitter, we look into, Facebook, we read the posts. You understand, you make an analysis of what the person is actually saying. Say, for example, text analysis, right? What happens? What topic is trending today, right? What topic was trending yesterday? And major, in using NLP, what do? We do is a sentimental analysis also, whether there's a positive remark about it, positive sentiment about it, or a negative sentiment about it. Example, reviews. What are the reviews for the companies? What are the reviews for a restaurant, right? So these are sentimental analysis being done. This is one of the AI capabilities which you use it a day in and day out, right? Which you feel, see it. Question answering. So I open to the audience. Give me one use case of question answering in your day-to-day life. One of the AI capability. This came way back, I would say even a decade back, but then most frequently used in the last 5 years. Anybody would like to put it on the chat? Any response? Okay, let me give you an example. The chatbots, all question answers, predefined, content is there. Human queries, responses are already known. So any chatbot for that matter has this capability of question answer, right? So language understanding, what language is spoken, right? So language understanding, identification, and processing and things like that. Translation, very important in any of the today world. Translation has become a key with several languages being spoken across globally. So there should be one language that people could understand and all that. So translation plays a major role today, even in many of the parliament meetings or even UN, specifically UN meetings and all. You will have the translation constantly running with respect to each country, right? So that's happening. Speech to text, text to speech. It's a no-brainer. Everybody knows this happens. Subtitles, how does it come, right? So it's a speech to text and text to speech. Anybody use cases? Can you give some use cases? Guys, you can use the chat window. Probably I should show it in the screen. Here is the chat window. All right. Then comes the speech translation, speaker recognition. For example, when there is a speech by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, just feed it into a system. It will automatically say, yeah, it is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's speech, right? So how does it do it? This is one of the capabilities to understand who is the speaker, what do they speak, right? Some specific personalities like an entity recognition and vision. What are, I mean, apart from language processing, speech, there is next capability we come to is vision. So some of the use cases, okay, I'll take a pause here. There are some responses. Oh yeah, you're right, Radhika. Subtitles in regional languages on videos, that's true. You can also post some, the examples of vision. How do you do image classification? Any practical example where you do image classification, object detection, facial analysis? Anybody who would like to try? Okay, while you are in the thought process, let me tell you, in forensics, this is very important, right? We use the deep learning algorithms to do the facial analysis and things like that. We also use face model as well, right? And then image classification, object detection. Imagine a traffic control system, automated traffic control system. Yes, fake news identification. Okay, okay. Um, all right. And then we do have the next one, which is called as video analysis or image analysis, especially accident site where it is a completely automated control. Your CCTV cameras feed all the images and the videos of the particular site, right? And then you do an analysis, right? Basically, the analysis happens through AI and then finds out what happened, what was the cause and the effect. So all these are, practical use cases, right? Optical character recognition. Imagine, invoice reading, right? You have invoice reading, resume reading, very, very important for all the organizations. Resume reading, where we use the business optical character recognition, right? Because every resume is of different format to see the similar characters in that and then understand if the skill set is there or not, right? This is one of the examples. Anomaly detection. So now I ask you, what is anomaly detection? Oh yes, Radhika. Radhika, Uma Balasubramanian. Yes, number plate detection. Great, Balasubramanian. So yes, we do have a lot of use cases here. Coming to decision making, what use case you could think of in anomaly detection? Anybody? How many of you use credit cards? How many of you have got into fraud calls, or probably misuse of your own card, stolen or misused or made use of your card numbers and pin by someone else? So these are some of the anomaly detection use cases, right? And in case of manufacturing industries, healthcare equipment industries, if there is an anomaly in any of the equipment failure, right, it's an operational equipment effectiveness, there also the anomaly detection plays a role. Just giving few examples, but the use cases are very vast. Content moderation, content personalization. This everybody could understand, right? So think of it. How many of you are movie buffs or maybe OTT buffs? Can you think of this content moderation use case there? Movies, series, anywhere? Yes, I'm still waiting for responses. Remaking of movies. But then that comes under translation basically, or the dubbing stream is given and all that. But then what I would say for content moderation is your rating of a movie. It's U/A, whatever it is, to moderate a content and say that, okay, this is what it is, right? What is advisable? Yes, preferred genre and things like that. And then the other one is content personalization, is where Radhika and Ambika, whatever you're saying, applies, because content personalization is up to even in your e-commerce sites. You select something, you purchase based on your purchase orders, based on your earlier purchases. The content gets personalized in your e-commerce website, right? Be it Amazon, Flipkart, or whatever you're using today. So you go there, automatically it will say that you have been purchasing this size of these colors, right? It personalizes your view in the portal accordingly. So that is one of the use cases where content personalization is used. All right, great participation team. So let me expect more participation in the next reflection. So you can see the reflection, right? So what are we doing here? Who loves AI? Of course, everybody puts their hand up saying that, yeah, that's super cool stuff. I can do everything. I can write my exams using ChatGPT. I can complete my thesis using ChatGPT. Probably I can give a lot of responses over emails using ChatGPT, right? So then, who loves? Everybody loves it. Okay. Who is willing to deal with the ethical guidelines of AI? When the question comes on the accountability or responsibility, people kind of back. Okay, take a step back. Okay, why should I do that? Whoever does it should do that. Why should I do it? I'm just a user, right? And finally, who is willing to take the responsibility of the decisions of the algorithms? When things go right, oh yeah, pat on the back. When things go wrong, who is answerable, right? When things don't go well, we will see some interesting examples out in the world where things have gone wrong as well. Right? So how do you, I mean, just a quick question, right? Who has to take the responsibility for the decisions of the algorithms? Government or authorized body? Okay. We, Hemalta. Oh, what a collective responsibility and accountability. Great. Who else? Creators. Great, Uma. Which means the development and the designing team who actually designs all these algorithms or develops these algorithms. Okay. Who else would like to say? Who should take the responsibility if things go wrong? Let me give you an interesting example. Okay, there was a U.S. law firm where using Chat GPT, I'm not talking about just Chat GPT. They were trying to find out if there are any pending cases or high-profile cases that they could work on. Okay, and those attorneys got few cases against one or two airlines, and then they started working on it, issuing notices. And then they came to know the airline came back, very harsh on them, saying that these incidences never occurred. Where did you get these from? And then they said, we got it from ChatGPT. You understand, right? So as much as it's super cool stuff, it also creates content from thin air as well. So it's important. Yeah. So business owners who are using AI to their favor, yeah, it's a collective responsibility. Understand? All right, let's go quickly into the next section after this great interaction. The ethical dimensions, or in other words, the ethical dilemma. What do we have in place today, right? Yes, we use a lot of AI every day. Call Alexa, play this song, or Alexa, close the door. Siri, hey Siri, call this person. We do it every day. We have been doing it since I would say at least from last 5 years very actively, right? And in India, and then a decade we have been using globally, right? So what happens when, see, it's not about the how much we use AI. It's about the impact, right? The positive impact it brings in, and in case a negative impact it could bring, and who will be accountable for it. Right? So the accountability. So today, in today's world, okay, just before 2022, before OpenAI came up with ChatGPT, before that, what did we do? We said the accountability is with only the developer. The accountability is with the designer who is designing those algorithms, or maybe the testing, the machine learning, in machine learning operations, engineers and the community, which is doing the iterative test and the test data, right? What training they are giving to the data depends on that, the results vary. So they should be accountable. We have been pointing fingers at them. Today, with prompt engineering and things like that, even users have some responsibility, isn't it? So we also have a responsibility. Prompt engineers have a responsibility towards it. Though the accountability rests with the design or development or the organization that is launching those products in space. That's one. Next is the human agency and oversight. Let me give you an example of this. We will also discuss about it in the next slide as well, right? So based on one of the research, it was found that Amazon was using AI for complete, recruitment. Right? When the recruitment process was going on using the machine learning algorithms, people thought, okay, it's a major win. We are pioneers here, right? At the end of it, after a couple of years, they found that there is a steady pattern of rejecting the women resumes and for specific roles, and the specific roles are always filled by the other gender. So what happened was there was a commission set up saying that why are we not having many women candidates for these positions? Why are we becoming a kind of not non-inclusive in terms of recruitment? And then after a lot of iterations and checks, they found out that based on the historical training data that has been fed to the systems for to their models, it has been rejecting based on those models because those positions have been held by male counterpart in the earlier in the history. So with the historical data, it was continuously selecting only male. So basically there was no human agency and there was an oversight, and that is why many of the women employees who could have been a very good candidate for them, they could have been a high scoring candidate also, but they were rejected because of the training data. The historical data had the gender information, and also it was discriminative there, right? And then they corrected it. Right? So there was an action. They put a human agency, human in the loop, and then on the loop and overseeing the loop, and then they got it corrected. So what I'm trying to say here is that this is one of the practical examples where you need a human agency, and there could be oversight of the AI system. Right? Privacy and data governance. Very, very hard topic. Of course, privacy is today it's a very, very significant topic for every human of the world. When you have all the apps, you give access to people. It could be personalized information, sensitive personalized information, and that is out in the web, right? So it's very important how we are going to protect our digital personal data, and how are we going to have the data governance, right? So these cases, wherever there is going to be personalized information or sensitive personalized information coming into play, there need to be a proper governance, and there has to be a risk management. So that's the next, in the further slides, we'll discuss about how the risks, are assessed, and there is a risk governance made in some of the organizations as well. Societal and environmental well-being, very important, because there could be, there are big tech manipulations that have happened in the past. That is a societal, well-being. Basically, it could be an emotional contagion. If we give you an example, Facebook had, was in a research that came out that Facebook understood the moods and the sentiments of its users, and users who were writing depressive messages or sort of suicidal thoughts and things like that. Facebook started manipulating with emotional contagion, like happy news, happy things, so that they are very happy about it, and giving advertisements accordingly to take counseling and all that. So it could be a positive impact, but then not necessarily every time it could be positive. So we need to be very careful when there is an emotional contagion put across in a social media, especially to the users, right? And without the consent, that is very important. The consent is important. Then comes the manipulation in terms of electoral, right? Political campaign, where big tech played a major role. One of those cases, Swetha, you might have been aware of it, by shadow banning some of the accounts and things like that. So these are some cases where the AI plays a major role in, where it has to be, governed in such a way with ethics, so that it doesn't harm, it doesn't bring a societal or environmental harm, right? Transparency, very important. Say, for example, you apply loan in a bank, right? And then hard luck, you get rejected. What happens is that you want to know why did I get rejected, right? They say that, oh, it's a AI. We just implemented AI with models. The algorithms did its analysis of your profile, and it said it rejected means it rejected. That's all. This cannot be the answer from an organization or a big financial corporation, right? what you expect is a transparency. Based on what facts are you rejecting me? So a model or any developer or any organization that is bringing a product in the market on AI has to be transparent and explainable, right? So saying that these are all the criteria based on which the model works. These are the limitations. These are the strengths of this model, right? If you're going to put some data like this, it may not be able to give you a proper output. So there has to be an iteration. There has to be a phase 2, phase 3 that has to be created for it. So that transparency should come from the organizations that are implementing AI models or the developers that are, who are owning those models to the users, to the end users who are using it. So that's the transparency factor, which is very much I would say in the entire world is investing on the explainability and transparency in terms of decisions, and also in terms of the algorithms. What does it do? What data does it use, right? Is it approved? Is it with consent or not? So all these are answered as a part of the explainability and transparency criteria as part of ethics. The technical robustness, or I can call it as a reliability and safety. Imagine AI, we use it for diagnosing the automatic diagnosis of your illness and writing prescriptions. That might also come in. That's already there in some of the dispensaries. Tell me whatever you, what are the symptoms? It understands symptoms, says that these are all, take Dolo 650 if you have fever, right? So that happens, right? Basically, I mean, the healthcare is being revolutionized by AI. So there needs to be a lot of reliability and safety concern regarding healthcare, right? Where it is the wellness of a person, it is a larger, a greater human kind that will be impacted if the decisions are inaccurate. Okay, for example, there are AI used in diabetic tests, right? Where they say you are a diabetic or non-diabetic. Classification algorithms are used for that. Imagine during a pulse, it makes an inaccurate or the score is less. It just made a, wrong, what I would say, wrong prediction, right? What happens is that ultimately the person gets into a diabetic medication. So it's very important that the solutions and the applications what we develop needs to have a technical robustness and safety. Diversity, non-discrimination, fairness. This we already discussed. Basically, the inclusion part of it is very important when it comes to some of the use cases. It should not be, none of the decisions or the predictions should be influenced by gender bias, race bias, or ethnicity bias, right? So, or a financial status bias, right? So it needs to come automatically with all the ethical policies that are in place by the company, all the guidelines that are with the company that should be applied for the AI also, whatever solutions are built. And the country guidelines also come into play. The regional guidelines also come into play. So that is how we will be able to answer all those ethical dimensions what we are discussing today. Let me take a break. Let me ask some questions. If you have any questions, just put it across. Anything? Looks like everything was understood or everything was a bouncer. I prefer the former. All right. So let's discuss about the first one. Let's reflect, right? This is a reflection. Let's reflect. So one I have already spoken about. Amazon's machine learning specialists uncovered a big problem, right? Their new recruiting engine did not like women. Basically to say that they did not recruit women and then they fixed it. The other one is Microsoft's racist chatbot. So what happened was there was a Facebook profile by name in China, Xiaois, and Xiaois had almost billions of followers. Every friend, or billions of friends, and all those friends loved Xiaois like anything. But Xiaois was not an entity or a human, right? It was actually a bot, and that was very pleasing to everyone. So everybody loved it, and it made their day. Spoke all the sweet messages, motivational messages. Was a very cool buddy for many of the people. So Microsoft thought, okay, this is very nice. Let us have some sort of a chatbot who's a friend to all, right? So China experiment was very successful. That was Chaois. And then it came to the West, and then ran one more, which is called Tay. Okay. But then, as you know, we have these ethical dilemmas in place. Few pranksters sort of, tampered the algorithms, and then Tay became very racist, started giving derogatory remarks, and harassing some of the people and things like that. And then it shut it down. This experiment failed, right? For the in terms of ethical guidelines, and also it was harming the society. So that's another part. Big tech manipulations we have already discussed. So basically, the algorithmic nature of any AI system in any machine learning model is similar to human. What we humans are today are based on our nature. Nature in the sense as you are, right? As you were born, pure clean slate, right? Your nature comes from your DNA, basically, right? So your nature and also your nurture, the environment, your upbringing, where you studied, your friend circle, your colleagues, your environment, the entire atmosphere where you were brought up, and then you go to and you establish yourself, right? So that's the nurture. So basically, us humans, we are similarly, the algorithms also behave the same way. Nature of the algorithm is nothing but the algorithm logic. It's logic, pure logic, right? This is the logic. And then comes the nurture, where the training data, whatever data is given to it, data is ingested into it. How good is the data? How inclusive is the data, right? And that determines how inclusive, how fair is your data, how diverse is your data, right? Not some sort of a monologus, some extrapolated information, but real data. So all these play a major role, right, in determining AI behavior. So it starts from the full life cycle. There's going to be a lot of accountability involved. Right? All right, so that's the reflection, and let us have a quick example of from World Economic Forum, where they included this inclusion in the life cycle, right, of AI. So you can see here, right? First thing is you have a use case. You say that, okay, fine, I have a use case. Let me say for healthcare. That okay, let me have a an algorithm that could determine if a person is anemic or not. See, that's one of the use cases, right? Based on your blood report. So if the person is anemic or not, whether iron capsules have to be prescribed to them or not, whether they have any deficiency or not. So these are some of the use cases you can think of. What is important in two ways, right? There is something called as builder ecosystem. You see here all the purple lines. Those are the builder ecosystem where you have the designers, you have the AI engineers, you have the developers, all the people who actually are the backbone of this AI, development solution development. The blue ones are the stakeholder ecosystem and the governance ecosystem. Think of the project managers, think of the ethical, legal, leaders, and the steering committee where your risk is analyzed and things like that, where the stakeholder, where the end users or the business that is going to be benefited by the solution is being, discussed upon. So there's Fox for all that, right? So what is important from the stakeholder ecosystem is to have an awareness and literacy building. They should know how to use AI. So this is where we say that the life cycle, the accountability doesn't rest with only a certain set of people, but also the people who are going to use it ethically. Right? So the awareness and literacy building should start from the external, ecosystem, where we will do a clear definition of use case and problem. Why AI is the solution? Why can't we do a script and then get this thing done? Or why not another solution, right? Why are we investing on an AI solution? AI doesn't come at a lower cost. You know that, right? Even the infrastructure cost of an AI is very high. And top of that, you have your development cost and all that. So basically, AI is a very expensive solution. So you need to clearly define, the builder ecosystem should define why AI is the solution, right? Then comes the model design and iteration, where you need to have the AI inclusive by design. So this is the accountability, or I would say the responsibility of the builder ecosystem. What has to be done at the governance ecosystem is partner with the stakeholders on data collection. Say, for example, a company says, I would like to know what promotional offers I could do in the next, probably Diwali. So let me know what products I can think of and make a decision and things like that, right? Basically, a business decision that could boost the revenue by, say, 30%, 40%. That's the problem statement, or I would say the opportunity. Then you have to partner with stakeholders to see how we have to collect the data. That real-time data has to be fed into your AI, right? To the models, and then train it with that, and then validate it, and then do the iteration and things like that. So basically, from the stakeholder standpoint, what do we collect, right? When we do the data collection, we have to ensure it is a diverse data set and it has inclusivity in that, right? So the inclusion and diversity should come automatically. It's not just with respect to gender. Please remove that thought process. It's kind of a stereotype, right? Take out that from your minds. Think of anything diverse, right? It could be age, right? It could be ethnicity. It could be color, right? Anything of that sort, right? You should have a diverse data set. And inclusion should be there so that you do not have a underrepresentative of any of these sections, right? Of any of the categories of people or animals or anything, right? So that's important. Then comes model development, right? For where the model is developed and tested, several times tested to ensure that your scoring is good. So when you talk about accuracy, every model has a different mechanism to do that. So for example, if I call up a regression testing, okay, regression algorithms, regression, you use, mean squared error, root mean squared error, R squared. So these are some mechanisms to see how accurate is your model, right? What is the confidence score of it, right? The lesser it is, the better the model will perform in terms of regression. We talk about classification algorithms, say you are diabetic or not, you are anemic or not, right? Or is it an animal or a human? So when these kind of classifications come into play, classification algorithms where you find the accuracy using, F1 score, you can have recall, precision. There are different, metrics to do that. So you need the metrics. You need to keep on working towards the metrics to see how you can, have a more accurate and a more robust model, right, to carry on with your solution. So what you have to do as a part of the testing and the model development is implement the best practices in ethics. So this is important. So every model needs to have this best practices in ethics, whatever dilemma or dimensions we were mentioning it before. These have to be the governance, the principles, the guiding principles have to be implemented in the model development. Then you do the deployment. When you do the deployment, the stakeholder ecosystem should ensure that we determine the appropriate diverse metrics to assess the model. So I just told you what are all the metrics. You give the data also. You test it with different set of data to see that whether it is predicting wrong or not, right? Monitoring and hypercare, that is, always there. That's a business as usual, which you do continuously. And there's going to be, you have to implement the accountability mechanisms for the development teams as a part of after the deployment, right? During the monitoring and hypercare. There has to be evolution of knowledge development. Say, for example, before 2022, we haven't, deep dived into sort of generative AI at all. Not many. Then, boom, when ChatGPT came up from OpenAI, then people thought, oh, what is this generative AI? What is it? Now, let me take a pause, right? What is the difference between generative AI and ChatGPT? I need the people to respond. Participants, come on. What is the difference between generative AI and ChatGPT? Anybody? All right. So, that's correct, Balasubramanian. That is correct. So, generative AI is basically an AI that creates new content using large language models, right? Basically, what generative AI could do is huge. It can do across arts, images, videos, in you name any format, it could generate new content. Okay? But then ChatGPT is a tailored version or I would say a tailored implementation of generative AI for a conversation, right? So basically, a conversational AI is also different from your generative AI. You know that, right? Because ChatGPT is something that will generate new content, right? But then what conversational AI does is predefined set of content based on the human responses, queries, and responses. Based on that, it gives you answers. So that is the difference, right? No, Vijay, there is a difference because ChatGPT is just a subset or a utilization of generative AI. Generative AI is a broader topic. Okay. All right. So having said that, if you have any questions, please stop me, raise your hand. We will take up the questions at any point of time. Let's have a look at the risk governance. Okay. This is very interesting to see how we are putting all the risk management in process to ensure that your AI doesn't have a negative impact, or even if it has something, it is curbed at the beginning itself, and then it is not progressed to the solution, right? So we have three entities here. One is the trustworthy AI work stream. This is the risk governance model of SAP. Okay, I'm showing that for SAP. Similarly, my organization and every organization has different models, risk governance model. Okay, so trustworthy AI stream is where we have a group of interested, employees who want to engage with trustworthy AI and build expertise. When I say that, it could be a developer, it could be a project manager, it could be AI enthusiast also, who would like to work on that and then establish, right? So mainly the working stream of people, designer, developer, all those people will be a part of this, who would basically work and engage with the trustworthy AI, and then they build the expertise skills in order to have an ethical AI in place. Okay, so here you will have the use case owner also. For example, if I'm presenting a use case saying that let me do an observability of my IT estate using AI, so I am the use case owner. I'm bringing up with a use case, right? Provide update on activity. So who is providing update from the AI work stream? There is an update given to a ethics steering committee. So a ethics steering committee or senior leadership, they will have design, data protection, privacy protection, corporate strategy. They have HR, sustainability, legal, everything, right? So they are a specific set of highly skilled and with a lot of breadth and depth of the industry as well, across verticals, right? And then they develop and enforce the guiding principles. Basically, they are the ones who will craft those guiding principles saying that XYZ has to be followed, right? So the use case owner has to convince the steering committee saying that in my use case and for the solution, we are definitely implementing all these guidelines. These are the artifacts, right? So in case of anything missing also, they will provide the guidance to the trustworthy AI workstream. Now, having said that, the steering committee also needs to know what is happening in the world. For example, there was an executive order by Biden, right? US President Biden recently this week, and then it was about how we have to use the guiding principles, right? Basically, the executive order was for the AI, so how it has to be used properly. European Union has come back with a framework, right? And NIST has come up with a framework on the risk management for AI. So every organization, a government, regulatory body comes up with it. So who will give those advisories? The AI ethics advisory panel or external experts. So they will provide input and advices on the operationalization of the guiding principles. Okay. This is a loop, right? Risk governance loop. Any questions? If not, let me go ahead with one of the interesting use case to all of the participants. This is one of the use cases from SAP where there was a business challenge in performing the resume screening. So you have tons of resume coming, right? There is a business challenge that every resume has a different format, right? Resumes come in different formats. At times, you cannot do a simple scanning algorithm for everything. No, you will not be able to do it. That is why you use the business optical character recognition to extract the text detect the language and all that, right? And then there is the entity recognition to see the recruiting, relevant information, name, age, which organization, earlier organization have they worked on, how many years of experience, all the recruiting relevant information that will be taken up in the entity recognition. And then from next, we will use the digital assistant in SAP to, help the review the candidate and create the job requisition, right? And then finally, the SAP intelligent, robotic process automation performs the automatic scheduling of interview in the HR system automatically. So imagine the entire process from the resume collection, screening, and scheduling the interview has been automated using AI. Okay. What is the benefit they have received in terms of it? Okay, it reduces the manual work and there is a faster time to recruit, right? It speeds up the entire process. It reduces the extraction errors also because there could be an oversight by the human, right? You just read it, okay, fine. There could be a better candidate, but then you don't feel like reading also at times. It happens. So it reduces the extraction errors. It focuses on the value creation tasks. Basically, you will be working more with the human after scheduling the interview than spending time in all the repetitive actions what you usually do for a HR, right? In the recruitment point of view. This is a use case. Now, tell me what could go wrong in all this. What could go wrong during this intelligent resume screening? And having said that, how can we implement some controls in this? Anybody? Anybody would like to say, okay, this phase there could be a problem, or XYZ there could be a problem, or overall this, when we do this kind of AI solution or making use of AI capabilities, there could be a problem. If there is something like that, please say.
Hi, Swetha. The expected text might not be used by the user in their resume.
Right, right. That's true, right? So that there could be, there should be many possibilities of the data so that the candidate is not left out, right? A good candidate is not left out. Very true. Thank you, Hema. All right, so let me go to the next thing. So some of the criteria we'll consider here. One is human agency and oversight. So how are we going to do that? This has to be, the system must be tested extensively so that it does not drop or elevate candidates automatically. So to avoid unintended behavior. What appropriate governance we should choose? We should oversee the process. Basically, users in the sense the HR should be the recruitment person should be able to oversee the process in some time. It's not like everything is automated, so I can sit without looking into it, so that we do not leave an inspection, right? So we need to have an inspection on the candidate and system decisions to be sure the decisions are correct. Enable the humans to overrule the decision. So at times it could be a case what Hemalata said. Some text could be missing and then low scoring candidate would be there. So how are we going to ensure the overriding of AI systems decisions and taking that candidate into account, right? Set up a job interview for a low scoring candidate. So these are some of the controls that have to be put in place. Addressing what we call it as, the inclusion, diversity and things like that. So how do we address this, right? So the inclusive data should be used for training, of course. It should be underrepresented, it should not neither underrepresented or marginalized groups. So it should not be biased. That is very important. We need to build fair and unbiased systems. It should not discriminate against candidates. So that is very important. And then realize the measures to detect the bias. What is important here is that, okay, there could be something going wrong, but the AI developers must define the fairness measures so that during the testing of the algorithm with a statistical parity, we can track for productive use, right? So this is important. So put the tools in place so that the fairness measures are defined. Transparency, very important. So what are the data sets used? What are the related processes? What are the algorithms applied? Document it. Very important. Usually the developers need a lot of documentation when we go ahead with this. Document the AI system's capabilities and limitations. Very important when it comes to explain to users, applicants in terms of their purpose, capabilities, limitations. This is what it could do. This cannot do. Tell it openly. And say what the AI generated output was, whether it was qualified, not qualified, and why you were not qualified. That is important. So these were some of the, principles, or I would say, the guidelines that have been put by the regulatory authorities, governments, organizations, right? One is Biden's landmark executive order. The next one is European Commission, how it should be lawful, ethical, and robust. Aligned process and operations. My company called Kyndryl implements 4 pillars of responsible generative AI. AI factory processes defines development, deployment, and operations. That's what we saw in the AI factory process of SAP. Microsoft has released meaningful updates to the responsible AI standard. RAA is responsible AI human-centered technology teams and process at Google. They have also set up something like that. So all are putting their efforts and also investment in making AI trustworthy, right? With the risk assessment controls, assessing which is high, medium, and low, and things like that. So when we say all this, right, maybe you might think of, all right, so AI is cool, nice, but it has all these ethical dilemmas, fine. So why are we, getting into AI? Or probably some of the people might even think AI is going to rob off many of the jobs. So what are we going to do about it, right? How many of you think that AI is going to rob the jobs or rob today's jobs? How many of you think so? No one? Oh, that's cool. Okay. So basically, the fact is by 2025, whatever jobs we have today, 85 million of those jobs will vanish because of AI. That's the truth. Based on World Economic Forum research, it has found that 85 million jobs of today will perish or will be replaced by AI in 2025. And that's a fact, right? That's a prediction by World Economic Forum. Now, having said that, AI will also generate 97 million jobs in the similar time frame, which means by 2025, the existing 85 million jobs will be replaced by AI, and there would be new 97 million jobs that would be created by AI. What is important here is how we stay creative, curious, and a mindset shift is required and embrace the change. Earlier, before a couple of centuries, when computers came up, there was a jitter that computer is going to take off all the jobs. Yes, it did. It did rob off many of the jobs. But then whoever went ahead with the, yeah, that's right, Radhika. Yeah, so we are on the top of the hour, but what I would like to say is that whatever we do, we have to embrace the change and look forward to the next level. So yesterday's, the person who was working on a ledger is working on a digitized platform today. And then cloud came that was giving a big transformation, right? And today, the earlier system engineers are nowadays cloud engineers, right? So next, what we ought to be going is the next technology advancement. We have to just embrace the change, go for the new avenues, and embrace and start upskilling ourselves. That's the way forward. So there are going to be a lot of jobs open for AI engineers, prompt engineers, ethical, designing teams and things like a design thinkers, right? So you are going to be, you're just going to upskill yourself, and then you're going to stay relevant. So to stay essential, you have to stay relevant. And that's the order of the day today. All right, so that's all from my end. And what I have given here is quick recon of the kyndryl, responsible generative AI policies as well. And finally, some of the references that could help all of you in pursuing, skill set in AI, be aware of it, and then embrace the change. That's all from my end. Over to you, the participants, for any questions, or to Ambika and Uma. Thank you. Any questions?
I think it was a great session. Thank you so much for the engaging session, Swetha. As usual, very, very sportive and enabling session. So thank you so much. On behalf of EVIT and the core committee, we would like to extend you our heartfelt thanks. So thank you so much, and looking forward for more of interactions. And we will share the recording once we upload it to the YouTube. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
Uma.
Swetha.
Thank you.
And also let us advertise the upcoming contest on ChatGPT, what we have given. So
Yes.
EWIT has organized. Yeah, please over to you, Ambika or Uma, to advertise it so that the participants, we have lots of participants here, so they might also join the race.
Yes, we have asked your pictures in generative AI to be transformed, great looking, or however you want to vision yourself and send it to us. We have given you the email address, and we'll also post in all the forums about our
Yes,
latest contest, and I hope you will all participate. Along with Federal Soft Systems, we are also coming up with a contest for children. Basically, it's more for parents to use AI, develop that interest in your young bees and bring in the creative skills. It can be drawing, dancing, or anything. You just need to create anything that is mad, music, art, and dance, and post your pictures using any of the latest technologies. And we would be glad to have your child participate. So welcome you all to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah,
You
have
too.
a nice weekend. Thank you, Swetha. Thanks, Ambika, for
Thank you.
organizing. Bye-bye.
Bye.